Okay, fourth grade. So we're going to jump on in and start looking at your first country of the ones we're going to look at, and that is Thailand. After we finish that, then we're going to move over into the Philippines. It's not actually too far from Thailand when we look at the map. And then if we have time, we might be doing a surprise country and just let you hear something kind of neat coming out of that country, okay? All right, so let's jump on into Thailand. Okay, so now Thailand itself is located in the southeastern part of Asia. Now, just real quick, I'm going to go to the main map, and there should be a way. No, let's see all slides. Let's go to back to our beginning. Okay, so if we look at this main map here, Thailand is just south of China. So if you look over here, Thailand is right there, right below me in this area here, okay? And so now let's go back into, let's see, okay, there we go, that's what I want. Let's go back into Thailand, boom, right there, okay? All right, so like I said a minute ago, Thailand is located in Southeast Asia. We just saw that on the big map. Its capital is a city called Bangkok, and you can see that that city is located down here right there in this harbor area on the Gulf of Thailand. Now, Thailand was not always known as Thailand. It used to be called Siam. Okay, until June the 24th of 1939, when the country's name was officially changed to the Kingdom of Thailand. Today, we simply know it as Thailand, okay? All right, now, Europeans from over in Europe, like those guys in England and France and Germany and all those countries up there, they began traveling down to Thailand in the 16th century, which is about the 1500s. Now, Thai, interestingly enough, even though all these European countries would come down and conquer all these other countries in the southeastern part of Asia, Thailand was the only country of those in the southeastern part of Asia that was not ruled over by a European country at some time. They've always been an independent country. And I know you're looking below me at that lady with the really long neck. This is a tradition in some of the tribal areas of Thailand. It is a sign of importance in your tribe, and these rings are pure gold. They're constructed with such a way that it wraps around the neck, and then they basically hook it back together in the back here where it can't come off. So this lady here, she's had these rings added to her neck over a long period of time. Each year she'd get a new ring, and it would extend the length of her neck. And it's a tradition down there in that culture. Okay, now early Thai instrument ensembles were called pipats, which are woodwind and percussion instruments. Krungsai are string instruments, and mohori is a mixture of the two. Now, types of Thai music would include lukdong, which is their country music, Mariam, which is their dominant folk music, and Kantrum, which is a type of dance music that you see our lovely ladies dancing here in the picture below me, okay? Now, these are some instruments that are popular in Thai music. We see very similar to violins that we've seen in some of our other Asian countries. These Thai violins here, flutes, percussion instruments, drums of all kinds, string instruments here. So not really very different than a lot of the other Asian countries we visited. Now we're going to talk about a song from Thailand that's very popular with the children. Okay, so this song is called Mon Son Pa, okay? Now, the way it is played, this is known as the cloth doll song. So what you would do in order to play this game is the kids would create a cloth doll. And as you can see here, I've created one. I simply took a piece of fabric and I folded it in half, so it was kind of as even as it could be. And then I'm going to take string or twine or yarn, whatever you have handy. I happen to have our recorder yarn that we use for our recorder belts over here. So what I did is I folded it in half and then tied it up so I could create like a little head. And then I put it about most of the way down, maybe a third of the way down, so I could create two little legs. And so now I've got a little cloth doll. So this is what you would do to create your little cloth doll. Okay, so first, let me show you how this chant is going to go, and then I'll explain to you what the cloth doll is for, okay? All right, so say this after me. Mon son pas. Say that. Mon son pas. All right, now listen to the next part. Tukata. Say that. Tukata. All right, here's the next set of words. Yuka lung. Try that. Yukang lung. All right, now let me put that together. Mon son pas tukata yukang lung. Let's see if you can try. Here we go. Mon son pas tukata yukang lung. Here's the next part. Wainon wai ni. Try that. Wainon wai ni. The next set of words. Chanta ti conte. Try that for me. Chanta ti conte. All right, some of these words don't sound exactly like they look. Again, it is a different language over from Asia, okay? All right, now listen to me put that second line together. Wainon wai ni chonte ti conte. All right, now here we go. So now you have to clap while you do the whole chant together, okay? So you can jump in with me if you want to hear it the first time. And then jump in on the second run, that's totally fine. But we are going to do it a total of 3 times, okay? 1, 2, ready, go. Mon son pas tukata yuka lung, wai non wai ni chante ti conte. Mon son pas tukata yuka lung, wai non wai ni chante ti conte. One more. Mon son pas tukata yukang lung, wai non wai ni chante ti conte. All right, now, the way the game is played with the cloth doll is you're going to have a bunch of kids sitting in a circle with one person on the outside of the circle. The person on the outside of the circle is holding the cloth doll. Now, the translation of what we're saying is right over here, okay? And basically we are saying the mon, or I am hiding a piece of cloth. The cloth doll is behind my back. Leave it here, leave it there. I will tap you with it on your back. So what we're doing as the person walks around the circle with the cloth doll, he's got it hidden behind his back. And on the 3rd time that we do the chant, because remember we did the chant 3 times in a row. So the 3rd time we do this chant, the person with the cloth doll is supposed to drop the doll on somebody's back, one of the children that's in the circle. And then that child has to grab the doll, get up, and try to catch them by touching them with the doll before that person gets back to their spot. What American game does that sound an awful lot like? Yeah, it's pretty much Duck, Duck, Goose. It's just played in a slightly different fashion. So all these games that you guys played as kids, and some of you may even still play, I don't know, then these are played by kids in other countries with some variations to them. So in this case for the Thai children, it would be a cloth doll game, okay? All right, so now we're gonna move into our next country. Now our next country is the set of islands known as the Philippines, okay? Now, if we look here, you can see the Philippines are made up of 3 main areas of islands, okay? You've got the Luzon Islands, the Visayas Islands, and the Mindanao Islands, okay? Now, if we look at a main map here, where we just were over in Thailand is right below me, okay? So this is Thailand here. Now, all we got to do is go across this body of water right here, the South, I think that's the South China Sea. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm pretty sure that's the South China Sea. We just jump right over there and boom, we're at the chain of islands known as the Philippines. Now, the Philippines used to be an American territory, but they have gained their independence in the past 60 years, I believe. Now, people first reached the Philippines about 30,000 years ago when the first people immigrated from Sumatra, Borneo via boats and the land bridges. Now, hold on for just a second. I said land bridges, okay? Now, all of this water down here in the what we know as the Indonesian islands wasn't always that high. The islands themselves in the Indonesian islands, and the Indonesian islands are south of Asia and north of Australia. So it sits right there in between those two countries. So the water actually used to be really, really much higher than this. So there were land bridges that were actually connecting Asia mainland, and you could sort of kind of had to go a few, you know, like move around a little bit, but you could actually walk long. We're talking like tens of thousands of years ago, you guys. Okay. You could actually walk from what we now know as Thailand, which is attached to the southern part of China, and walk all the way down to Australia, which is below that word Indonesia there below me. Okay. So all of this, lots of land bridges that connected these different areas of the what we now know as the Indonesian islands. Okay, so let's jump over to our next set of facts. Okay, so now the Philippines is an incredibly diverse nation. There's lots of different languages that are spoken in the Philippines. There's many different religious practices in the Philippines: Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, all kinds of different religions, ethnicities, and also geography. The Philippines is very mountainous in areas. It's very sandy near the ocean areas. It's got some flat areas, swamplands. It's very diverse as far as its different terrain and geography. Each set of islands has its own unique terrain. Now, ethnic and religious fault lines that run through the country continue to produce a state of constant and low-level civil war between the northern islands of the Philippines and the southern islands of the Philippines. So basically, all these different religions and things, they haven't quite learned how to get along very, very well. And they really should, because people of all kinds of different backgrounds and everything should be able to get along. That's the way you're supposed to do things. But unfortunately, they have some issues with that over there in the Philippines. Now, the capital of the Filipino Islands is Manila. And if we go back to the map here, we see that Manila is in this top set of islands. Okay, and we see it in this harbor area right there. Okay, all right, moving on. Now, the Philippines population is over 100 million, and they have an annual growth rate of 2% every year, which makes it the most populous and fastest growing countries on earth. People are just swamping to the Philippines. All right. Now, music of the Philippines is influenced by all the different cultures that have come together in this country. The traditional folk songs is primarily inspired by the indigenous customs and beliefs of the people who have been there. When we say indigenous, these people, you know, these are the ones who've descended from the people that were there 30,000 years ago. Okay. Then you've got most notable composers of Filipino music include Lucio San Pedro, which is from the National Artist for Music, and well-known Antonio, and I'm going to try and pronounce this as best I can. My apologies if I get it wrong. Buenaventura, I think I got that right. A renowned patriotic composer for Filipino music. There's also music that is composed in the urban regions of the Philippines, particularly for the youth. And this is kind of known as the Filipino pop music. And if anybody have seen any of the recent seasons of a show called World of Dance, then there was a kids group. Oh man, I think the V-Peeps is what they were called. It's the children's group, I think, were the V-Peeps, and then there was the teachers of those dance teachers of those students. This past season, I think maybe U-Peeps, I don't remember. It was something Peeps for each of the groups, but those were Filipino dance groups, and they were dancing to not only just cultural pop music that we find here in our area, in our country, but also some Filipino pop music that's very popular down there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is look at a few of these instruments that are popular in Filipino music. You can see this one here is kind of like a set of cymbals that you tap, and each cymbal's got a different tone to it. You have the classic Filipino string instruments, Filipino drums. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a children's game called Pin Pin de Sarapin. Okay, now the way this game is played is you've got children that are sitting across from each other, or you can have a group, but this is mainly played between two people, and you have one person who is it. Now, whoever is it is going to actually be holding their hand out, and the other person at a certain point in the song is going to start tapping on the steady beat in the palm of the person that's it hand. And then at a certain time in the music, boom, you're supposed to try and grab the finger. And if you grab that finger of the other person, that person is now it. But if you miss that, you got to go through the whole process again, and you have to remain it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how to sing each of these little phrases here. And normally these hand claps that I'm going to add wouldn't be added. But since I don't have you here in front of me to have a group where we can try this, I'm going to add some hand claps to keep us active. Okay. So sing this after me. Pen, pen, desada, pen. Try that. Ready, go. Pen, pen, desada, pen. Now listen very carefully. De cusio de amasan. Try that. De cusio de amasan. Now, if we put that together, we get this. Listen first. Pen, pen, desada, pen, de cusio de amasan. Try that. Here we go. Pen, pen, desada, pen, de cusio de amasan. All right, now listen to the next phrase. How de carabao batutin. Try that. Here we go. How de carabao batutin. Now, carabao, that's actually their word for cow. Okay, so we're talking about how the cow was smelly right there. All right. All right, and then our next line we have si pi na mi ni mi. I did that so wrong. My apologies. Let me try that again. Si pi na mi mi li. Ready, go. Si pi na mi mi li. Here's the next part. Pi chin tot pi lak. Really easy. It's just straight tas. Ready, go. Pi chin tot pi lak. And then we move into this phrase. Na mu mu lak lak. Try that. Na mu mu lak lak. Sa ta bin da da. Here we go. Sa ta bin da da. And yes, when we jump up to this note here where you see an NG, we just go and we make an sound. That's all we got to do there, okay? All right, so I'm going to try and put that part together starting at this second line here, okay? We have si pi na mi mi li pi chin tot pi la na mu mu lak lak sa ta bin da ga. Real simple like that, okay? And again, if you're not getting this, it is totally fine. I just want you to try. If the words aren't quite coming out, because you see I'm stumbling a little bit too, so it's totally okay if the words aren't perfect. Now, all of that part is the part where we're going to be doing our hand claps, which again, I'm personally adding. That's not something you normally see in the song, but we're going to add it since we're doing this thing virtually. Okay, now this next part, right up here where it says say, that's where we get into where the finger starts tapping on the hand, okay? So listen. Sayang pula talang pera. Say that for me, here we go. Sayang pula talang pera. And then the last phrase. Sayang puti talang salapi. Ready, go. Sayang puti talang salapi. Now, there's a phrase in here that actually is not on this version that's supposed to be in there. And this is the part where you get ready to grab the hand. So it's sal, sal, salu. I did it wrong. My apologies. Sal, sal, sasuka, maholitaya. Try that. Sal, sal, sasuka, maholitaya. And that's the part where it's sal, sal, sasuka, maholitaya. And you got to try and grab that finger. And if you grab the finger, the person that finger you grabbed is it. If you didn't grab the finger, you have to stay it. Okay. All right. So we're going to try and put this together. And I'm more concerned about you doing this part and joining me on this section here that sayang pula talong pera, sayang puti talong salapi, sal sal sasuka maholitaya. Okay. That's what we're trying to do. So do the best you can as we go through this. And these words are really nonsense words. Mostly talks about how the cow is stinking, and you've got pinch the tongues, gold and silver, blooming near the sea. So okay, it doesn't really mean anything necessarily. It's just a silly song the kids put together so they could decide who's it. And whenever they would play other games, they would do this to decide who's going to be it. Okay. All right. So let's try it. Here we go. Pen pen de sara pen de kutseyo de amasam ha ha da karaba batutin si pi na mi mi li pi chin to pi la la mu la la sa ta pi da kat se yam pula ta long pera Seyam puti talang salapi sa 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 soka maholita ya. And right on that ya, that's when the finger's supposed to be grabbed, okay? So that is how that game is played for children in the Philippines. And now we're going to do a quick country. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, just a quick little view, because it's a really cool type of music that they make from this country that I just couldn't resist sharing with you. The country that I'm talking about is a country that's actually north of China. It's known as Tuva. And if we back up to our main map, and go all the way back to the beginning here, Tuva actually sits right up in here. You see Mongolia and we see China here. Tuva sits somewhere along this area here. Unfortunately, China and Mongolia don't recognize it as its own country. You can see Mongolia down here, Russia land up here, and then Tuva right in the middle. It's a rather small country. Tuva began under Mongolian rule from 1757 to 1911. That's a long period of time. Tuva was then ruled by China. And from in 1911, Tuva became known as independent, but was a Russian protectorate, which while they had their own government, anything go wrong, they could go call on the Russians, who would bring their military down to help them out for whatever reason that they might need. If they, another country was trying to take them over, they ran into some issues. But in 1926, Tuva became completely 100% independent. They are their own country now. Now, unfortunately, there are some Asian countries who don't recognize them as their own country, but they are, in fact, their own country. Now, this is going to blow your mind. But the population of Tuva is only around anywhere between 12,000 and 13,000 people. And I know you're probably going, what? That's not a lot of people at all. We have more people living in Greenville than live in Tuva. So the reason for that is Tuva is in that area of our world that is extremely cold pretty well all the time. The ground is almost impossible to farm in because it is so rock hard from being frozen. The people that do live there have found a way to make it work, and they've been living there for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. And so a lot of their things that their ancestors used to do hasn't really changed because it works for that particular type of terrain. So that's why there's really not a lot of people that live there. Okay. Now, there is a type of music that comes out of Tuva that is very, very, it's indigenous to that country. You hear it in other countries, but it came from Tuva. This is Tuvarian throat singing, okay? It dates back, oh gosh, we don't even know how many years it's that old. Throat singing is the ability to sing more than one note at the same time. Now, what's happening inside the throat whenever you talk or you sing normal is you've got this set of vocal cords. We actually call them vocal folds now. I don't know who decided to start calling them that, but that's just what scientists and vocal doctors call them now. So we have this set of vocal folds. It's like two flaps of cartilage muscle that come together whenever you bring air up through the lungs and out, and you're creating sound. When you're just normally breathing, then the vocal folds stay apart so the air can travel through. But whenever you're talking or you create sound, the air forces those to come together, okay? So if you put your fingers here and you hum, You feel that vibration down there? And even when you're talking, if you can just keep feeling the vibration. So that vibration is actually your vocal folds vibrating really, 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 really fast to create sound. Whenever you sing high, they're going to vibrate even faster. Whenever you sing low, they're going to vibrate even slower. Now, Tuvarian throat singers have figured out a way to activate what scientists and people who study the voice call a false set of vocal folds. It's this area of the throat that sits kind of around where your vocal folds are. And they have figured out how to bring that together too by training the muscles. And this creates extra sounds, and we call those sounds overtones. So what they're basically doing is like one guy can sing many notes at the same time, okay? All right, and that's coming from deep within the throat. Now, this particular group that you're seeing here in these pictures, sorry that they're a little fuzzy. When I stretched the pictures out for this, it distorted the picture a little bit. But this group is known as Alash. They're a very famous Tuvarian throat singing group, and they perform all over the world. And what I'm going to do now is let you hear a recording of one of their pieces. Now, these guys in Tuva, throat singing is called Kome. Now, you're going to see these guys playing some different instruments. This song that I'm going to have you guys listen to is called Dungodai. Now, we're going to see a drum being played. This is a large frame drum. It begins as thunder coming off in the distance, and then it's joined by an instrument called the douche ple, which is a 3-stringed plucked instrument. And I apologize if I'm not saying these Tuvarian words correctly. Next, we're going to hear the igil, which is a 2-stringed bowed instrument, sort of played like a cello, and that's that guy in the middle there of this first video we see here. He's holding that. Okay, and then we're going to hear the igil is going to continue playing the melody, and then we're going to see another instrument join us. I cannot say this word, so I'm not even going to try, but it's a 4-string bowed instrument held on the knee and fingered from behind the string. They're going to sing the first verse in all regular voices, and then in the second verse, the Ain Ol, which is one of the performers in it, he's going to switch over into Kome. So he's going to be doing that several notes at the same time thing. And then you'll hear them fluctuate in and out of the Kome and their normal voice as they go, okay? So I'm going to hit this here so we can watch them perform. Now, as we're watching this video, you're going to notice that it's going to be a little choppy on your end, and that's simply the way the internet is streaming as I'm creating these videos, but you'll be able to hear them okay and see most of what they're doing. All right, so let me make this full screen. So if you want to look this up, you're more than welcome to pause the video and write this down so that you can look up this video on your own and watch it without all the weird little that the video is going to do. Okay, here we go. So you hear that the performer on the end of there with the guitar-looking type instrument is the one that switched over into the Kome. Now, I wanted to read the translation for you so you'd know what they were saying. Riding on a gray horse, the color of the sky, aren't you a prancing fool? This is not the nicest of songs. With your serrated stirrups, you're so annoying, clanging them into people, sheesh. This is really what it says. Whatever am I going to do with you? You can't be fixed or spruced up. If only you were a nice goat skin blanket, maybe some fixing or sprucing could happen. Whatever am I going to do with him? He can't be traded or exchanged. Now, if he were a knife and flint, there might be some dealing to be done. So this is a song where they're basically insulting somebody. Okay, let's continue to listen. So that's they're a really good group, and like I said, they travel all over the world. They are called Alash. So if you want to look up some of their other videos that they've done, there's even some where they actually go through how the mechanics of how they do throat singing. If you want to watch some of those videos on your own, please don't go do that. Please don't go throat singing. Okay, you will damage something. This is something these people have been trained to do for most of their lives. Okay, this is a very hard technique. I won't even attempt it. It's really, really hard for someone who's not had the proper training. So please don't go around trying to throat sing in your house. Okay, don't do that. All right. So now, don't forget you need to go take the quiz. The link is down below this video in the description if you're watching on YouTube. It's also embedded into this week's folder on Schoology and linked over on my website for this week's video. So wherever you find the quiz, go take the quiz. I really appreciate everyone who's keeping up with their music lessons. I can't wait to get you guys back in the music room and starting making some cool music together. But in the meantime, hope you're enjoying these videos, and I'll see you next week. Bye.